Your story changed you. Now let it change the lives of others. This is a Candy Factory Mini. So you want to write a book? With Suzette Mullen.
Join me as we follow the development of a nonfiction book from idea to completion. We'll explore the creative process as well as the nuts and bolts of pitching and publication. Get a behind-the-scenes look of my book coaching process, as well as clear takeaways and nuggets of wisdom. Let me walk alongside you as you learn to tell your story. Hello, I'm Suzette Mullen, book coach, nonfiction writer, and your host. Welcome to this episode of So You Want to Write a Book. My goal is to break down the complex process of finding and getting clear on your story so you can finally take action on that book that's been rattling around your head or tugging at your heart. If you have questions, I welcome them. Leave them in the chat. So go ahead and grab a pen and paper or your phone or laptop to jot down some notes, and let's get started. Last time we looked at drafting jacket copy, which is an important exercise that helps you get clear on your book idea. And this week we're talking titles, working titles specifically, which is another way of saying your current best guess at a title that will probably change at least 10 times. Well, maybe that was just my experience. Now, choosing a working title is another clarifying exercise. It helps you define your book idea before you've even written a single word of your manuscript. So I want to just talk through a few quick do's and don'ts on titles. And then I'm going to bring on my guest, who's Aimee McGrath. She's a branding strategist. And we're going to talk titles with her in a mini coaching session. So here are some do's about choosing a working title. Do brainstorm. Try to come up with at least 15 possibilities. So just go crazy, let loose. Narrow your list down to your top 5, and then go on Amazon or another online book retailer and do some research. Are there other books with the exact same title in your genre? If so, think about whether you can tweak your title to be slightly different. Then go ahead and ask a few friends what they think about your top 3 to 5 ideas. If there's a consensus among them, change your list accordingly. And then choose one title to be your working title for now. So here's some don'ts. Don't get too wordy. One-word titles are super popular right now. I grabbed a few of my books. Shameless, Untamed, Pivot. Another don't. Don't choose something vague or confusing. Now, if your title doesn't communicate something central about your book idea, it probably is not going to be an effective title. Or if your title makes you think the book is about something it isn't about, that can be confusing for a potential reader. Let me give you an example. One of the many working titles for my memoir was Writing Myself Out, which was a title one of my friends gave me as an idea. And I love that title. But my book wasn't about writing, and it really wasn't about coming out either, so I reluctantly ditched that awesome title. Another don't get too attached. Your agent or editor may recommend you change your title eventually. So I want to go ahead and bring on my guest, Aimee McGrath. Hi, welcome, Aimee. Thanks for popping in and spending some time with us.
Thank you, Suzette. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah. So before we launch into a very mini coaching session, I want to read Aimee's bio, so that I can give her a proper introduction. So at Soul Creative, Aimee McGrath spends her days rebranding local businesses and helping startups determine their target audience, competitive advantage, and brand image. She's also a creative and results-oriented social media expert, providing content and customer-focused positioning for her clients. She's passionate about storytelling and sharing the story of why you do what you do, whom you want to do it for, and why people should come to you for that, to find that service. her website designs are customized and created with out-of-the-box thinking. And what I can say is I know that personally because I worked with Aimee, and together we came up with the name for my company, Your Story Finder, which was absolutely perfect. So let's jump right in. I have heard through the grapevine that you have an idea for a book. So what's your book idea?
I do. I have a pretty many years spent dealing with parental alienation and really kind of talking through the process of it for myself and to give hope to others that are going through it. The actual dealing with it when you're involved directly in parental alienation, and then surviving it and then thriving after.
Okay, great. So you have a very specific subject topic that is going to speak to many people. And I know you have, or I believe you haven't started writing your book, but it's an idea you have, and at some point you'll be ready. And I hope that we'll get to work together on it when you are ready. So we're talking titles today, and actually this is perfect because you haven't started writing your book. And the point of coming up with or thinking about working titles is to help really narrow or define the concept or the point your book is trying to make. So have you done any thinking about titles? Do you have a title that's been kind of rattling around your head?
I have, but now listening to your do's and don'ts, I think it might be a little off. But
well, that's okay. That's the point. That's why we're doing this. So
I had thought about the lost decade because it was really 10 years of intense loss and fighting and so the lost decade. And I really want to write it also to benefit my children in the long run so that they understand the process and what went on. So I'm not sure that speaks to exactly, it was just first what kind of got me was that it has been 10 years. And then I thought, well, I've really lost those years. But in reality, I didn't lose them. I actually have thrived, and it was a long story getting there.
Well, I actually love this because you're coaching yourself, right? I don't even really need to be here because you're already seeing why. I can totally see why, lost decade, and that's what we do. We brainstorm lots of different ideas. So the lost decade makes sense on one level, but now you're starting to see, well, was it really a lost decade, and is that the message that the book that you're trying to communicate in the book? So let's play around with some possibilities. Did anything kind of jog loose for you when you were listening to my do's and don'ts? And it's okay if it didn't, but
no, it absolutely did. And I hadn't really thought about it as not a great title until just listening to you say, it doesn't really say what the book is about. And it could be, someone might think that I had a concussion or I was, immobilized for 10 years or something.
Sure.
And that's not the message. Do you have any ideas based on what I'm...
Well, so I have a couple of thoughts, but one thing I would say is something that can address that question that you just mentioned, that is you can obviously always have a subtitle. So your subtitle often can get, more specific about what your book is actually about. I'll give you an example here. One of the 15 books I brought with me. This one is not a memoir. I assume yours might be a memoir. Your book might not be. I mean, we don't know yet because you might be really writing about this subject matter and just using your story to explore a bigger subject matter. But so here's a great book called Pivot. Now that could be about a lot of different things, but it's a business related book. So her subtitle is the only move that matters is your next one. And we know she's Jenny Blake. She's the co-creator of Google's Career Guru program. So the subtitle can often help define, give more definition. I was thinking about, here's a few ideas. When I was walking the dog this morning, I was thinking, this is what book coaches do. We can't help we have to think about our clients' books and ideas all the time. So I was thinking about, well, what really, I thought maybe if you wanted to go with a one-word title, I was thinking maybe stolen could be a one-word title, like your children were stolen, from you. I mean, I'm not saying that is the title. I'm not even saying that that's true, but that was an idea I had.
That really resonates.
If you're okay. All right. So that's something to sit with a little bit. So, play around maybe with some one-word titles, and that really communicate in one word what happened and how you felt. And then, your subtitle could speak to the sort of triumph or the positive outcome, the transformation. That was the main one that came to my mind. I also think you could think about, well, what is the transformation? Think about what's the takeaway you want for your reader, and see if you can communicate that in a title, like a one word. It doesn't have to be one word. I love the one word titles, but frankly, they're hard to come up with. I have tried to come up with one for my book, and I have been terribly unsuccessful with it. So then I finally was like, all right, I've got a few other books here I'll show. So this one is called Company of One, which I think is a great title. And the subtitle is Why Staying Small is the Next Big Thing for Business. So it's super clear what this book is about, right?
Yeah.
Here's another one. This is marketing. You can't be seen until you learn to see. Again, super clear.
Yeah.
One more I'll pull out. Marie Forleo, everything is figure-outable. Okay, she just made up a word, but her title is, it's clear. That's her message, right? That's her message. So I think, the working title thing, some people have a ton of fun with it, and then some people can get really uptight about not finding the right title. And I've been in both places. And at this early stage, it really is about trying to just be open and using it as an exercise to help you really define what your book is about and think about your potential reader. What kind of title is she going to gravitate toward? And if it's super vague, or not that the Lost Decade is super vague, but it doesn't define the concept, right? So because your reader might not have had a decade of parental alienation. She might have had a year. She might have had 2 decades, So great starting point. And I love the way you already could see that, that's probably not the final title for you.
Right.
So we actually, I know this is super fast. That's why we call it a mini coaching session. We need to kind of wrap up here, but thank you again for taking the time. I think your book idea is really important. It's a subject matter that doesn't get spoken about very often. And I know, from a few conversations with you that this is something that happens more than we would expect. And I hope that you will write this book someday. So
I will,
thank you.
Suzette, and you're going to be right there with me.
All right. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aimee. Thanks so much. So again, I really appreciate having Aimee, and it's just so fun to do these coaching sessions. I want to say one final do when you're thinking about your title. Have fun with it. Be playful and open to the possibilities. Don't get so serious about it. Now, choosing a working title is a great way to clarify your book idea. And if you're having trouble coming up with a title, or your working title is vague or confusing, it may be a signal that you still need to do some work to get clear on your book idea or what your story or message is really about. So as always, I'm going to invite you, if you haven't, to sign up for my newsletter at yourstoryfinder.com. It's chock full of tips to help writers get started, get unstuck, and get their stories out into the world. Next time, we're going to be tackling a big subject that I know is very dear to many writers. We're going to talk about structure and ways to start thinking about how to structure your self-help, personal development, or business strategy book. And I look forward to seeing you then. And in the meantime, happy reading and writing. So You Want to Write a Book is part of the Candy Factory mini-series and is a proud member of the Candy Factory Collective. You can find the show streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And you can subscribe to the audio version anywhere you get your podcasts.
Over the past 8 years, Suzette has been on a mission to help writers clear the fog and cut through the overwhelm so they can move their ideas out of their head and onto the page.
Her later in life coming out journey and her professional experience as an author, accelerator, certified book coach, and Dare to Lead trained professional, as well as her time at Harvard Law School, Wellesley College, and Columbia Theological Seminary, have given her a unique perspective, as well as many of her own stories to tell.
When she's not writing or coaching other writers, Suzette can be found on her yoga mat,
advocating for the Lancaster LGBTQ+ coalition,
or hanging out with her partner, Wendy, and their rescue pup, Lucy.
Visit yourstoryfinder.com to learn more about Suzette and her life story, as well as her writing coach offerings.
Life's too short to stay stuck, so why not write that book?
So You Want to Write a Book is produced by the Candy Factory Collective at the Candy Factory Co-working Campus in Lancaster, PA.
Production support by Anna Tran. Administrative support by Ann Kirby, Ariana Henderson, Krisha Marcel, Jason Mundock, and Robert Diggs. Notes and links can be found on the show post at our website, candyfactorycollective.com. Candy Factory.
Collective.